Hey sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to our first live broadcast during a halftime show. And we have an interesting one where I thought it was going to be a really exciting game. It has been a little bit if you're a Pelicans fan, or a lot, because they are doing a huge number up on the Spurs right now at home. And all I can say is that I think the Spurs have done something that has really angered the basketball gods, because every little play that can go wrong has gone wrong, it looks like. They're fumbling the ball. Guys don't look real good or real comfortable. They look like they're sort of crumbling under the pressure of this big game, which is not a good sign as they move into the playoffs. So we have a lot of things to share with you in a short time period. So let's go and look at the halftime the stats for the first quarter first. So let me grab these couple things up here and do a quick screen share. And forgive me, it's been a little while. We haven't done a live show in a while, so I'm still kind of getting used to how to do this again. So here is the first quarter stats. So let's see who did what first. What we have here is the guys who did well. Let's see, we had Tony Parker did extremely well in the first quarter, had 8 points on 4 of 5 shooting, getting to the basket. But you can see that he was a negative 11. All the Spurs were getting hammered here by 15. And the real culprit on the Pelicans side was Anthony Davis getting 7 shots and really all over the place with 10 points. And then you can see here that Tyreke Evans was also getting the rim when he wanted to, but also hitting a couple of shots, hit a 3. And that's not a good sign for Spurs fans if you see Tyreke Evans going off. So a real interesting thing here. Real quickly, I kind of wanted to go through this. This is kind of a confusing thing here, but you can imagine here if the Spurs lose, down here is where you can start seeing the results here. The Spurs lose. That sort of says that they're going to drop down to let's see here. I'm not even sure how to read this. They could still have the second seed if everyone else loses, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So they're looking like they're going to drop down into the 5th seed or the 6th seed if they're not lucky. So that certainly is a real interesting problem. The other scores, we'll try and cut to the other scores in a little bit. But I wanted to share with you also some highlights. We selected some certain plays here to go through, because this is usually a great highlight of our halftime shows. So let me go and screen share a couple of plays that we have highlighted. First off, we have a really interesting set by the Pelicans here. Now this will play. Let me turn off the sound. This will play probably a little bit stuttered, but that's okay. You get the idea. Where, okay, this is almost like horns, where they put Ashik sort of near the corner of the foul line here, but they send Anthony Davis out to the left wing. So, and they have Eric Davis down, or Davis down here by the Eric Gordon down there by the box. So a little bit of this is what we look at in horns here, where they feed the high post and then go to the weak side and screen for the guy out of the corner. He cuts back door, and then again we have a little bit of a pistol action where Anthony Davis will screen down for Gordon, and then they dribble pitch to him out of the corner. A nice little set there, almost a wrinkle of what we see out of horns. It gets a foul for them, so I like that. Next up, we see on the next play, the Spurs have it, and this is going to be another cool set to get Duncan open. They started the game really trying to get Duncan open against Ashik, and it worked okay. And here is an interesting play where just watch Duncan on the typical Spurs motion where they swing it. Oh, I'm sorry, he goes back as a dribble pitch. So as the dribble pitch happens here, and the direction is going to go on the top toward the left, you're going to see Bain set a back screen here for Duncan, and then also Kawhi set a screen for Duncan to get to the left low block. But watch how good Ashik is at guarding that. Takes it away completely, and that kind of stymies the offense. However, they look for a high-low, another great flow here. Doesn't happen, but we can see here, if we go back a little bit, that Anthony Davis is giving Baines a little bit too much space, and you can see he gets the open jumper. So nice little set there for both teams here. Let's see. The next play we have here is a little bit later in the first quarter, where we have an issue with Tim Duncan and Aaron Baines having to guard Anthony Davis. So let's see here. We start off with Anthony Davis is guarded by Baines. And when they start to do some weak side action here, watch, Baines is going to get a cross screen. He's going to get so tied up on that that Davis cuts up top, forcing Duncan to pick him up, which is, they're okay. They're in decent position, but Anthony Davis off the catch is just too quick for Duncan. And look at that nice little runner. Really nice little play there. Let's see here. A little bit later in the first, Parker this is an example of how out of sorts the Spurs were to some degree, where after some motion, they'll swing it over to Parker, who gets nice penetration. And normally you'll see a hammer play here where Tim Duncan will back screen Cunningham and get Kawhi an open corner shot. But instead, for some reason, Duncan passes it to Duncan. Sorry, Parker passes it to Duncan. Spacing is terrible. It hits off Duncan's face. However, they stay with it. And one of the things that the Spurs are so great at is the pick and roll and hitting the short roll. Here comes Duncan. Nice little pass inside. No way to cover that, and they get a shot at the rim. Let's see here. A little bit later, here's an interesting example where they run their offense, and they're going to get Parker attacking off of a little pick and roll here with Davis's man, and they're contained. Now, Davis is an okay position. He's a little bit slow to get there. But watch what happens once I'll go frame by frame here. He doesn't get in his stance, and he kind of slides and doesn't turn and run and gets beat as quickly as he could by Tony Parker for the layup. He's got to get a lot better at the contain on that kind of a play. And then we cut to the end of the first quarter, where we have a problem here. Norris Cole was killing the Spurs, and there's no reason why he should be killing them. And instead, I'm sorry, this was not Norris Cole's play. This was Holiday isoing on Corey Joseph, who also killed the Spurs on defense and on offense. But look at this play. Crazy iso, pull up from about 23 feet, and just nails a fadeaway. There's not much you can do, and this is when you have to be concerned as a Spurs fan. So let's move on. We got a couple more plays, and I can check Twitter for some questions if we can. So let me quickly just tweet out this to make sure anybody who wants to join us is still here. Let's do that real quick. Forgive me. I am still I'm still a noob at this right now. I've forgotten how to do this. Let me grab the link here. Copy. And wow, live TV. Here we go. Let me just tweet this out. I want to make sure everyone's here with us. Join us live. All right. So now let's continue with our highlights here, where we have the next play. We have Anthony Davis' sister is talking it to us. But here we have this is going to be. Oh, so here's when you know it's really going south, is when they try and post up Ryan Anderson in the left block. I know what happens here. Corey Joseph, early on, this is what happens when certain things early on in the possession can lead to bad things when it doesn't seem as bad at the time. But watch what happens. Corey Joseph is doing nicely on the ball, but because they get a weird spacing here, they suddenly Boris Diaw gets in the way and forces the switch. And now they're in trouble. They go to attack right away in the low block, which is a good idea. However, Joseph is doing okay, but on the rip through here, he just backs him in. Baines tries to take a charge, and they give up a layup. And now they're just really in trouble here, down by 20 points. Later on here, I'm going to show you here. Bellinelli shoots a wild shot off the left hand. Watch Manu Ginobili here in the lower right-hand corner as Norris Cole just blows right by him, not even going as fast as he can. That's a real problem. It's low sense of urgency here, and that was sort of the problem all half long for the Spurs. The later on here, so what the Pelicans are doing is a lot of pistol action, which is usually a pin down in the corner for a guard and then dribble pitch to him, or some version of that. So here we have a nice little quick drag screen for Holiday. They dribble pitch into an inside ball screen. Again, that's also pistol action, but watch what happens when Kawhi tries to ice this, and I think that's Diaw, doesn't sink down where it's supposed to be. Well, no one's guarding the ball here. Baines doesn't know what's happening, and look at that, a nice wide open layup for Cole. Again, killing them when he shouldn't be. So let me take this off and go back to our main screen here. Let me hit that button. Okay, they have new stuff. So, again, welcome to our halftime show. It looks like we're still at halftime. So, we have this new set. I'm really excited to be in my new digs with a nice, cool background. We'll probably have 2 camera setup coming up at some point. But let's just quickly go out and see what we have over on Twitter as far as questions, because I'm kind of curious here. If anybody has any questions, we can quickly answer. Here we go. Now, I encourage you guys to use the hashtag #BBallShow to make it simpler. But let's just see what we have. So, any questions we have here? Do you have any numbers on how successful offenses are when they repost? I don't have an answer to that necessarily. It's a good question. I don't know if anyone even tracks that. That would take a long time. But my eyeball test does tell me that, reposting is never a bad idea. It's probably like, screen the ball and then re-screen the ball. Usually you get some decent stuff here. Let's move on to, do I think the Spurs will start the second half aggressively or just be ready for rest? I think they're going to push it as hard as they can for the first, 6 minutes to see if they can't dig into it. But we've seen Pop not give up, but certainly not push it much farther than that once they get into toward the end of the third, early fourth, if they're down by 20 or so. That said, they have a decent bench that could get them back into it, and the Pelicans aren't 20 points better than the Spurs. We know that. So that could also go back to the mean. Do I think the Pelicans can keep this momentum going into the second half? I think the Pelicans were a little bit out of their mind. They were home. They had the home crowd behind them. And usually I say anybody can make a shot in the first half. So I would not be surprised if they do not continue shooting that way and the Spurs can kind of go back and get into this game. They certainly were getting some easier shots in that second quarter. Kawhi Leonard is the key. He must be more aggressive. Let's see here. Do we have any other questions? Let me go back the other way and see what we have here. Okay, well, it looks like we're good. And for some reason, my TV switched off to my monitor, so I can't see now if we're back or not. I imagine we're pretty close. So anyhow, thanks for being we have 7 new notifications. Here we go. Can the Spurs still come back? I did say, yeah, they can. It'll have to be in the first 6 or 7 minutes of this quarter. The Warriors need to win a title. They need to they need to be able to maintain their defensive presence if they don't shoot as well. But I don't see a lot of teams being able to stop them for 4 games in a week. So they're my pick. Is there any way the Pelicans don't make it? Absolutely. There's a lot of ways. We've seen the Pelicans do this. They're not the most experienced team, and they haven't won a whole lot of games this year like this. So, we'll see. I'm sorry. They're in a situation now where the Spurs experience could overcome what they built in the first half. When I start Norris in the second half, I would not do anything different, Monty. Keep it up exactly the same way you did. It worked beautifully in the first half. No reason to change it. Russell Westbrook or Harden, Game 7, last shot down by 1. I take Harden because he can spread the floor and shoot threes a lot better than Russ can. So there you have it, sports fans. That was our first halftime show of the year. I'm not sure why it took me so long to get here, but you can guarantee we'll have a lot more of these going forward in the playoffs, and it'll continue to get better with our production value. So thanks for joining us. Don't forget, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel. We're a conversation. You in?